I hate, but I love videos like this. I hate them because it makes you think the government, the powers that be, are absolutely despicable. We already know the powers that be are, but our own government, this makes it despicable. So that's why I hate having to do this. But I love having to do this at the same time because once again, conspiracy theorists are right. No longer conspiracy theory, conspiracy fact. And this is one of those things old J Snip 4 has been ranting about for a number of years. We have been producing these propaganda, fake terrorist videos. I told you, COINTELPRO, those guys, but you had Rita Krantz, I think was her name. She ran, what was the name of that one? Rita Krantz. Hold on, let me find this. Rita COINTELPRO. What was the name of that one? COINTELPRO. Rita. What was her name? It wasn't COINTELPRO. SITE. 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 Intelligence Group. Wikipedia. I've already been over this, but I'll quickly. SITE Intelligence Group is a for-profit Bethesda, Maryland-based company, Maryland, the club, the government, that tracks online activity of white supremacist and jihadist organizations. Funny enough, I've never seen anything white supremacist from them, but certainly Jihadi John. Remember Bin Laden came back from the dead, years ago, and he's giving the speech in front of a podium. The lips don't match the movement of the mouth, the audio. Doesn't look like him, doesn't sound like him. They're looking at his fingers. He's got a ring finger. He shouldn't have a ring over there. All kinds of stuff wrong with the guy. I mean, some of the videos they were sending allegedly from him were horrible. And I said it a million times. I'll say it again. We have the most powerful, most well-funded intelligence apparatus on the face of this earth. Not exaggerating. On the face of this earth, we got the best. But we're going to a for-profit, Maryland-based company ran by a Jewish lady, Rita. It's got her name in here? Can't remember. No, I can't remember it. I don't see it. Rita something or another. She's Jewish. Israeli. Okay? These are all propaganda films. The beheadings. Remember the beheadings? Oh, Jihadi John. Jihadi John. Guess who gave them to us? I said it then. And I said it before then when they were doing the other ones. Bin Laden, all this other nonsense. Oh, SITE Intelligence Group, once again. It's propaganda. So, allow me to read you some of this propaganda, if you don't mind. This is from thedailybeast.com. They usually have a pretty darn good track record of reporting on things that don't happen to be turn out later to be fraud. Kind of like the voting one I just did Sunday. Voting. Now, half of it's true. The other half, the guy stumbled into a warehouse of whatever, found the boxes of voter, whatever. They're all voting for Hillary. That story was fraud. The other one, however, was not. So the point I made in the video is still accurate, but I did have to go back, type some stuff up over the video. Hey, this is a fraud. No need to take my whole video down. I still had a good point to make. The Daily Beast, on the other hand, is a pretty solid site for information. Pentagon. The Pentagon that the day before 9/11 happened, the 10th of September 2001, we lost or can't account for, actually, we cannot account, Donald Rumsfeld, we cannot account for approximately $2 trillion. Pentagon cannot account for that. This is 2001. This isn't 2008, bailout, TARP fund, $800 billion, add $1 trillion, kick the can down the road. Obama takes office, add another $1 trillion. A few months later, add another trillion. When you started to hear that word trillion. No, this was 2001. You didn't hear those kind of numbers. Pentagon, we can't account for $2 trillion. Well, I'm about to tell you where a little bit of the tiny bit of it went, and here in a second. So that's accountable. But if you were to investigate at some other government body, we got to now investigate the Pentagon, the whatever branch of the government does auditing as far as financial auditing. We maybe that's just the Government Accountability Office. Who knows? We're gonna have to go to the Pentagon and go in the accounting department to see if we can help find this $2 trillion. Oh, listen, you can't do that. Why not? The next day, a missile hit the... Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say a missile? Sorry. Conspiracy theory. Rewind. You can't account for that. You can't go in and check because the day after that, 9/11 happened, a airplane, as in commercial airliner, hovering feet off the ground, flying at 500 miles an hour, hit perfectly the accounting, look it up, the accounting department of the Pentagon. So that's probably, what you need is probably gone. So Osama bin Laden, the Pentagon, and the club thanks you. They thank you for having to hijack or fly this thing into the Pentagon. Again, you couldn't make this up. And it boggles my mind how some people still believe the official story we've been told. You just found out recently, oh my God, 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi. We're allowed to now file lawsuits against the Saudi government because they now say these 28 pages say that they were implicated. They helped fund some of these terror. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. We've known about this for 15 years. Not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years. 15 years. And those 28 pages were classified by who? George Bush. Republican. Damn those Republicans. Whoa. Democrat president takes over 2 terms. Same as little Bush. 2 terms. Still classified. And he doesn't want to do anything to upset the Saudis. As you saw, he vetoed the bill that was going to be law to allow us to sue the Saudis for their part in 9/11, which was then overturned. The veto was overturned, as I reported to you, that next Wednesday, which was just last week. So now it's back on the books, and the first lawsuit has been filed, by the way. So who's the real terrorist over all this? Who is the real terrorist? Is it really Osama? His band of boogeymen? You got a Jihadi John. Wait a minute, that's all fake now. But I haven't even read you the story yet, so let me read you the story. Pentagon paid for fake Al-Qaeda videos. A controversial foreign PR firm known for representing unsavory characters was paid millions by the Pentagon to create fake terrorist videos. By Crofton Black and Abigail Fielding Smith of the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. The Pentagon gave a controversial United Kingdom PR firm, so we're not even talking about Site Intelligence Group. They did this too. So let's see what they have to say. Hold on, wait. UK PR firm, United Kingdom. Jihadi John, wasn't he from that part of the world? The other side of the pond, the accent, wasn't an American accent. That was a United Kingdom or Britain, etc. accent. I wonder if maybe Jihadi John's not dead after all. As I already told you, he wasn't when they allegedly bombed him and killed him. I always say this. How do you get rid of a lie? With another lie. It's the only way you can. You can't get rid of it with the truth. If you get rid of the lie with the truth, you're in big trouble. Well, we can't get in big trouble, so we have to make up another lie. And before you know it, there's so many lies, they can't keep them, they can't keep the lid on the jar. And stuff like this happens. The Pentagon gave a controversial United Kingdom PR firm over $500 million, 500 million. So, I know it's $2 trillion they couldn't account for back then. It's even more now, by the way. We know where $500 million went to run a top secret propaganda program in Iraq, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism can reveal. Bell Pottinger's output included short TV segments made in the style of Arabic news networks and fake insurgent videos, which could be used to track the people who watched them according to a former employee. The agency staff worked alongside high-ranking U.S. military officers in the Baghdad Camp Victory headquarters as the insurgency raged outside. Bell Pottinger's former chairman, Lord Tim Bell, confirmed to the Sunday Times, which has worked with the Bureau on this story, that his firm had worked on a covert military operation covered by various secrecy documents. Bell Pottinger reported to the Pentagon, the CIA, and the National Security Council on its work in Iraq, he said. Bell, one of Britain's most successful public relations executives, is credited with honing Margaret Thatcher's steely image and helping the Conservative Party win 3 elections. The agency he co-founded has had a roster of clients, including repressive regimes and Asma al-Assad, the wife of the Syrian president. In the first media interview any Bell Pottinger employee has given about the work for the U.S. military in Iraq, video editor Martin Wells told the Bureau his time in Camp Victory was shocking, eye-opening, life-changing. The firm's output was signed off by former General David Petraeus, then commander of the coalition forces in Iraq, and on occasion by the White House, he said. Bell Pottinger produced reams of material for the Pentagon, some of it going far beyond standard communications work. The Bureau traced the firm's Iraq work through U.S. Army contracting censuses, reports by the Defense Department's Inspector General, and federal procurement transaction records, as well as Bell Pottinger's corporate filings and specialist publications on military propaganda. We interviewed half a dozen former officials and contractors involved in information operations in Iraq. There were 3 types of media operations commonly used in Iraq at that time, said a military contractor familiar with Bell Pottinger's work there. Quote, white is attributed. It says who produced it on the label, the contractor said. Gray is unattributed, and black is falsely attributed. These types of black ops, used for tracking who is watching a certain thing, were a pretty standard part of the industry toolkit, end quote. Bell Pottinger's work in Iraq was a huge media operation which cost over $100 million a year on average. A document unearthed by the Bureau shows the company was employing about 300 British and Iraqi staff at one point. The London-based PR agency was brought into Iraq soon after the U.S. invasion. In March 2004, it was tasked by the country's temporary administration with the promotion of democratic elections, a high-profile activity which it trumpeted in its annual report. The firm soon switched to less high-profile activities, however. The Bureau has identified transactions worth $540 million between the Pentagon and Bell Pottinger for information operations and psychological operations on a series of contracts issued from May 2007 to December 2011. And by the way, I think that was prime time for the old Bin Laden tapes, wasn't it? A similar contract at around the same annual rate, $120 million, was in force in 2006, we have been told. The bulk of the money was for costs such as production and distribution, Lord Bell told the Sunday Times, but the firm would have made around $15 million a year in fees. Martin Wells, the ex-employee, told the Bureau he had no idea what he was getting into when he was interviewed for the Bell Pottinger job in May 2006. He had been working as a freelance video editor and got a call from his agency suggesting he go to London for an interview for a potential new gig. London. Jihadi John. That's where he was from, by the way. Quote, you'll be doing new stuff that will be coming out of the Middle East, he was told. I thought, well, that sounds interesting, he recalled. So I go along and go into this building, get escorted up to the 6th floor in a lift, come out, and there's guards up there. I thought, what on earth is going on here? And it turns out it was a Navy post, basically. So from what I could work out, it was a media intelligence gathering unit. After a brief chat, Wells asked when he would find out about the job and was surprised by the response. "You've already got it," he was told. "We've already done our background checks on you." He would be flying out Monday, he was told. It was Friday afternoon. He asked where he would be going and got a surprising answer. Baghdad. He says, so I literally had 48 hours to gather everything I needed to live in a desert. Days later, Wells' plane executed a corkscrew landing to avoid insurgent fire at Baghdad airport. He assumed he would be taken to somewhere in the green zone from which the coalition officials were administering Iraq. Instead, he found himself in Camp Victory, a military base. It turned out that the British PR firm which had hired him was working at the heart of a U.S. military intelligence operation. A tide of violence was engulfing the Iraqi capital as Wells began his contract. The same month he arrived, there were 5 suicide bomb attacks in the city, including one suicide car bomb attack near Camp Victory, which killed 14 people and wounded 6 others. Describing his first impressions, he said he was struck by a working environment very unlike what he was used to. Quote, it was a very secure building, he recalled, with signs outside saying, "Do not come in, it's a classified area. If you're not cleared, you can't come in." Inside were 2 or 3 rooms with lots of desks in, said Wells, one section for Bell Pottinger staff and the other for the U.S. military. Quote, I made the mistake of walking into one of the U.S. military areas and having a very stern American military guy basically drag me out, saying, "You are not allowed in here under any circumstances. This is highly classified. Get out." While his hand was on his gun, which was a nice introduction, said Wells. It soon became apparent he would be doing much more than just editing news footage. The work consisted of 3 types of products. The first was television commercials portraying Al-Qaeda in a negative light. The second was news items which were made to look as if they had been created by Arabic TV. He said Bell Pottinger would send teams out to film low-definition video of Al-Qaeda bombings and then edit it like a piece of news footage. It would be voiced in Arabic and distributed to TV stations across the nation, according to Wells. So, as I'm reading this now, as I've just stopped, this is now telling me, remember Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda. To the people in those countries, like Iraq, was Al-Qaeda the bad guy? Survey says no. So they had to come up with propaganda video, bombings and destruction, and say this was Al-Qaeda in Arabic to convince the people these are bad guys. You don't want them here in your area. Us in America, Al-Qaeda, we know what that means. These are bad terrorist people. You don't think we got the same level of propaganda by chance, do you? No. I'm not going to go there, no. The American origins of the news items were sometimes kept hidden. Revelations in 2005 that PR contractor, the Lincoln Group, had helped the Pentagon place articles in Iraqi newspapers, sometimes presented as unbiased news, led to a Department of Defense investigation. The third and most sensitive program, described by Wells, was the production of fake Al-Qaeda propaganda films. I think this might be about to be getting interesting. He told the Bureau how the videos were made. He was given precise instructions. Quote, we need to make this style of video, and we've got to use Al-Qaeda's footage, he was told. We need it to be 10 minutes long, and it needs to be in this file format, and we need to encode it in this manner. Because we got to make it look like it's legit from them. U.S. Marines would take the CDs on patrol and drop them in the chaos when they raided targets. Wells said, if they're raiding a house and they're going to make a mess of it looking for stuff anyways, they just drop off an odd CD there. The CDs were set up to use Real Player, a popular media streaming application which connects to the internet to run. Wells explained how the team embedded a code into the CDs which linked to a Google Analytics account, giving a list of IP addresses where the CDs had been played. The tracking account had a very restricted circulation list, according to Wells. The data went to him, a senior member of the Bell-Pottinger management team, and one of the U.S. military commanders. Wells explained their intelligence value. If one is looked at in the middle of Baghdad, you know there's a hit there, he said. If one, 48 hours or a week later, shows up in another part of the world, then that's the more interesting one, and that's what they are looking for more because that gives you a trail. The CDs turned up in some interesting places, Wells recalled, including Iran, Syria, and even America. I would do a printout for the day, and if anything interesting popped up, hand it over to the bosses, and then it would be dealt with from there, he said. The Pentagon confirmed that Bell-Pottinger did work for them as a contractor in Iraq under the Information Operation Task Force, producing some material that was openly sourced to coalition forces and some which was not. They insisted that all material put out by IOTF, which is that task force, was, quote, truthful. Yeah, okay. IOTF was not the only mission Bell-Pottinger worked on, however. Wells said some Bell-Pottinger work was carried out under the Joint Psychological Operations Task Force, which a U.S. defense official confirmed. The official said he could not comment in detail on their activities, adding, "We do not discuss intelligence gathering methods for operations past and present." Lord Bell, who stood down as chairman of Bell-Pottinger earlier this year, told the Sunday Times that the deployment of tracking devices described by Wells was perfectly possible, but he personally was not aware of it. Bell-Pottinger's output was signed off by the commander of coalition forces in Iraq. Wells recalled, "We'd get the two colonels in to look at the things we'd done that day. They'd be fine with it. It would then go to General Petraeus. Some of the projects went even higher up the chain of command. If Petraeus couldn't sign off on it, it would go up the line to the White House, and it was signed off up there, and the answer would come back down the line." Petraeus went on to become director of the CIA in 2011 before resigning in the wake of an affair with a journalist. The awarding of such a large contract to a British company created resentment among the American communications firms jostling for Iraq work, according to a former employee of one of Bell-Pottinger's rivals. Well, I'm sure they didn't want someone coming in who they couldn't trust to make up fake stuff in propaganda videos and things like that. We need to go use this firm over here in the UK because we know they're down with OPP. That's right. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. We certainly were down with other people's property over in Iraq. We still got a base over there. You know, we kind of set up shop. We're just temporary. We're just staying for a little while, and then we never leave. Nobody could work out how a British company could get hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. funding when there were equally capable U.S. companies who could have done it, said Andrew Garfield, an ex-employee of the Lincoln Group, who is now a senior fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. The American companies were pissed, he said. Ian Tunnicliffe, a former British soldier, was the head of a three-person panel from the Coalition Provisional Authority, the transitional government in Iraq, which is what that was following the 2003 invasion, which awarded Bell-Pottinger their 2004 contract to promote democratic elections. And we want that because we rig everything. We rig the machines, we rig the votes, doesn't matter. We want the people to think. This is brand new to you guys. You have no idea how this works, but I'm sure you're dying to know. You now get to vote for your leaders. Oh, fantastic. And every time you vote, I'm not going to tell you this out loud, but every time you vote, you're voting for one of our guys. Sorry about your luck, you Iraqis. You should have bought in another dictator. Remember the guy? Told you about this a little while back. The guy that when the troops came in Iraq and they were yanking down the statue of Saddam, this guy came out to kind of like help, and the troops were trying to raise the American flag. He said, "No, put our flag up. We got rid of Saddam, put our flag up now. So they switched it out, put the Iraqi flag and put it back up. Everybody's cheering. That guy, not that long ago, I did a video on this. I never thought the day would come when I say I miss Saddam. I wish he was back in power. Ooh, that hurts. Not to be outdone, I almost did a video on this, but I just didn't. Very, very recently. Libya, same story. I never thought we would ask for this, but we miss Gaddafi. We want Gaddafi back. Of course, you can't. He's dead. That's now 2 countries. So it seems like President Vladimir Putin is right. The U.S. goes in somewhere, leaves a wake of destruction, and he's saying, now we want to let you guys go into Syria. Look at what you did in Iraq. Look at what you've done in Libya. We can't let you do this in Syria. It's not happening. Yeah, but Assad, he's here hurting civilians. And no, that's the rebels you guys have funded and give weapons to. Sorry. Nice try. That's what Putin's saying. So, I mean, this is a little bit more to this, actually quite a bit more to this article. Don't even need to continue. I've read enough. Don't be surprised. We make propaganda videos and we give them to the world. No matter where we are, we even give them back to ourselves. So, do you find it shocking at all that this has happened? And if you were not on the same page before, after reading this now, me reminding you, what about the fake Osama bin Laden videos? What about the fake beheading videos where they slice the guy's neck 6, 7 times and nothing happens and then they fade the video to black? Why don't you want to show how ruthless you guys are? Jihadi John, I mean, what's up, buddy? It's nonsense. I mean, I'd almost say, how much do you want to make a bet? Jihadi John worked for this Bell Pottinger in some way as part of the propagandist tool. Anyways, it's sickening. Should make you sick to your stomach. This is what we do. This is what America's about. That's what we do. We don't spread democracy and help starving children and people less fortunate. Oh, no. We come and wreak havoc. We just use the name of this democracy. But once we get in there, believe me, we do like spreading democracy. Once we get in there and spread it, we now have control over who wins every single election from that point forward. And the people in Egypt, remember, we tried that there. Muslim Brotherhood won 51-49, just like Lindsey Williams said would happen, by the way. And then the Egyptian citizens overthrew that guy and hunted him down, 100 of them. 100 Muslim Brotherhood people, you're out of here. So, I guess the elite don't always get their way. Like Lindsay did say, they don't always get their way. Just pretty much everything they've ever told me for the last 30 years has come true. But they don't always get their way. They think they're gods, but they're not. So the club has a lot of problems going on right now. A lot of things, a lot of jars, lids have popped off all of a sudden. They're trying to tighten the jars. Oh, we get those jars to put a lid on those things, man. Come on. And I think they're kind of running out of arms, if you know what I mean. But anyways, just want to relay that to you. I hate having to do this. Who wants to come out here and tell other people of a country, the same country that I'm in, you've been lied to, all these things that you thought about your country are false because they were good things, and this is what we really are, right? We are actually a rapist monster in the little kid's eyes. It's my father. I love him. I love my daddy. He would never do that. And then the kid gets old enough, takes his blinders off, and starts to realize slowly but surely, oh, my dad lied to me about that. My dad wasn't telling the truth about that. Daddy, they're saying you did that. Daddy, I've seen video where you did that. Uh-oh, right, that's me. Daddy America, you've been called out. And now we've got these psychopaths at the top who do not want to relinquish power to Donald Trump by any means. Can't wait to see what they have up their sleeve before the elections, or at least before the new president takes office. I would assume it would be before the elections, because if it's after the elections, the club does something, he's already voted in to take over. Barack, you're going to have to step out, martial law or not. In this case, well, there hasn't been an election yet. You can hold that off. Boy, I sure hope that this isn't the kind of situation we're about to get in America where the election gets halted for some nonsense, EMP or attack or whatever. Again, I just read you who's going to be behind it. I'm pretty sure. I just read you, should any major event happen, who's really going to be behind it. But we shall see. Take care.